Fresh off that Taurus new moon, let's talk about it. So, of course, the moon by now is already in Gemini, but we still kind of coming off the reminiscences of what the new moon provided for us. And the key word for the Taurus new moon really was embodiment. At this point in time, cool thing about Taurus is you don't really have to put on a front. You know what I'm saying? You could keep it as dry, simple, and concise as possible. It's all about efficiency when it comes to earth signs and earth transits, and being that the sun is in Taurus now. It's all about just gathering what it is that you value as far as a concept within your mind and embodying that. Like, you really don't got to do too much outside of what you're trying to be consistent on. And the thing is, you ain't even got to try too hard if it doesn't align with what's naturally if it doesn't align with your values. You don't need to be wasting time participating with it. Simple as that. Another transit we got to keep in mind is Venus is now back in Aries. So again, with Venus in Aries, usually the trope is all about, self-love. But in this case, it's really just, we already been through what Venus in Aries was teaching us during that retrograde back a month ago. Now it's about, revisiting those things, but with a lot more courage. Now you have the courage. You should have the courage to go after what it is you want. If it's a desire of yours, be honest about it. You know what I'm saying? Authenticity is the key. That's what's really going to unlock things for you during this transit. Also, when the moon was, when we had the new moon, right? Now that the moon is in Gemini, it passed through Uranus already. So again, that should have provided some emotional clarity and also comfort surrounding really basically just like your individuality, and understanding that, hey, if this is authentic to you, again, back to that word authenticity, and then also embodying it, that's kind of like the call to action. But the sun in transit is going to be getting closer and closer to that Uranus energy. So, right now, take small steps to rebel and oppose against things that just aren't quite in alignment with you. And see, in Taurus, it plays out perfectly, because right here in Taurus, you can do the slow, steady approach. You know what I'm saying? You can already basically take acts of rebellion by just being honest. You know what I'm saying? Just being honest and step by step, day by day, you making strides in, towards that thing that's authentic to you. And like I said before, you don't really have to think too hard about it. But, with Taurus also energy, it's always about making it make sense. So, be patient with yourself and allow yourself to make it make sense. And see, the hard part is going to be you looking around and kind of comparing what you got going on with what everybody else is maybe approving or giving attention to. And you have to kind of learn your way around how do you navigate being honest and true to yourself. And, it's almost like you got to make yourself lit. That's another thing too, with Venus in Aries, Trine and Mars in Leo. That is kind of the key. It's like you have the key, the power, the gift to make yourself lit. So make sure you make yourself lit on something that you actually value. Don't make yourself lit based upon chasing validation and chasing the approval of individuals who really don't, not only individuals who don't give a fuck about you, but don't chase approval in areas and spaces that don't even value you. You know what I'm saying? You trying to break your neck for whatever job or whatever system is, you think you're supposed to be participating in, when, it might be worth the sacrifice to lean into the thing that you actually care about and that you value, because that thing is always going to pour back into you. And at the end of the day, that's kind of what we want from this. We don't want to go through another cycle just doing what we think is the right thing to do. We need to more so connect to what we know is the right thing to do. And of course, it'll take a little bit of discernment, and like I said before, making it make sense. Part of making it make sense is going to be you also having to take the approach of what's practical and what's feasible for your situation at the time. You know what I'm saying? So there's a balancing act that has to be put in play. But for the most part, now that the moon is in Gemini, it's about getting the mind going, having the conversation, speaking up, because, part of this is almost like planting the seed, but doing it through means of networking and things like that. So don't be afraid to have the conversations about the things that you value, and make sure that what comes from your vocal cords is things that kind of promote the steps to get there. You know what I'm saying? But nobody can get there if you don't take the steps. So like it is an action time, but use the moon in Gemini to, add a little bit of curiosity, like, what if things go right for me? And you communicating things that you value, and kind of putting yourself in the conversation with things that you value, people, places, and things, that's already going to set you on a course to get closer to these things, you know what I'm saying? Because part of manifestation is really, it's all about bringing things to you. You know what I'm saying? So part of bringing things to you, you have to embody that. So Gemini is the first step in developing the mental state that's actually going to make it make sense for things like that to come closer to you in life. You know what I'm saying? So again, don't be afraid to speak up on what you think makes sense. And even if you're wrong, you know, that's the thing about, that's the beauty of Gemini energy. The beauty is, even if you're wrong, Gemini doesn't care so much about being wrong or right. You know, they're just there for the conversation. They're light, you know, keeping things light, mutable. So don't take it too harshly if you're wrong. And this is the time to speak up and be wrong so that you can course correct. And that way you'll be able to add more logic and practicality to whatever it is that you got going on. So the process of making something make sense won't be so gruesome and dramatic. You know what I'm saying? If you try to hold your tongue right now and you don't put yourself in the conversation with the things that you value, it's just going to prolong the process, you know what I'm saying? And it's going to make it more and more emotional, and maybe even more and more heavy and slow to get to where you want to go, just based upon you not being real with yourself, you not being honest with yourself, and yeah, just spending too much time in that limbo space of not knowing. You know what I'm saying? The thing is, you won't know until you get out and try it. Part of what might be triggering that too is some of the energy we still got in Pisces, like Saturn and Pisces might make it feel, there might be emotional restrictions, you know, based upon you feeling a certain way, you doubting yourself still. Hopefully you're not dealing with self-doubt anymore. You know, honestly, there's so many opportunities to overcome that by just putting in the work. You know what I'm saying? Like, people spend so much time not going for things, not trying things out because of what they feel might happen if they don't succeed. But the thing is, you'll never succeed if you don't put that shit aside and go out and make it work. The thing is, anything is possible in this world, but it's up to you to make that possible. You know what I'm saying? God made you in his image. So it's like you have the power of all possibilities to make something work. It might not work how you think it's going to work, but that's the beauty of it. You know what I'm saying? To be blessed is to be given something that's greater than what you could fathom. You know what I'm saying? Your imagination can only go so far, and that's one of the most powerful tools you can use: your faith, belief, and imagination. The imagination creates it. It's the faith to hold the space when you don't see it yet, and the belief is what fuels you to actually put action towards what it is that you created in your mind as an imagination. So, you know, use that creativity to still push yourself forward. You know what I'm saying? But again, if you don't actually get up and take the steps yourself, you'll never actually see the full potential of you making something a possibility, and you'll just be another person who either grows up to hate themselves, and again, hurt people. Now you become the person who wants to destroy everyone else's dream. And if you're an individual who grew up around people like this, or you know people, and the sad truth is, it be people who be young too, in young bodies, but still carry this sentiment, whether from past lives or whatever, that you also have to be aware of. And the thing is not to get aggressive with them, or to look down on them or hate them. It's more so just having that space and that grace to be like, damn, you know, you must be behaving this way towards me because of what you haven't resolved within yourself. You know what I'm saying? But getting back to what I was saying, yeah, that Gemini energy, you know, it's going to be squaring this Saturn and Pisces. So you're just going to have to put that extra effort into learning how to kind of overcome the emotional sensitivity you have towards your dreams, and being willing to communicate them, whether right or wrong. You know what I'm saying? Not attach so much emotional heaviness, or, you know, all that wishy-washy energy towards just curiosity. Sometimes that curiosity can lead you to having more creativity. A lot of times that is what happens. You know what I'm saying? A lot of the best artists have that combination: Gemini Sun, Pisces Moon. That's both Kendrick Lamar and Ye. You know what I'm saying? Kanye kind of wilding right now, but still, that's some creative ass energy. So it's no wonder they going crazy and stuff. At the end of the day, just be you and trust in the process of just going step by step. You know what I'm saying? Because that's really all that we can do. And Pluto is also going to be trining the sun during this transit too. So there's a lot of deep transformation that's going to come from you just being willing to put in the work, and you'll be surprised at what the results look like at the end of it all. You know, and keep in mind, this is leading to a full moon in Scorpio. So again, you want to transform now so that the transformation later looks more like you becoming a phoenix rather than you you having to kind of put to death a behavior and pattern that you see that's kind of been taking over your life in a negative way. So, you know, don't get on that level, because that'll take you to some very desperate thought forms and things like that.